Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race recap show for the Season 8 special, Meet the Queens. My name is Joe Betance from the podcast Catching Up, and I am joined by my faithful co-hosts from the podcast Dubious Intent. Give it up for Daniel J. Brewer. Oh, we have an audience this year. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Huge crowds, yes.
Well, yeah. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, I thought you were going to finish introducing people. I didn't want to step on one.
And from Pod is my co-pilot, Taylor, the Latte Boy.
If he had a nickel for every time he would say that, I thought you were going to finish.
And obviously, this season's off to an auspicious start with my mangling of the intro.
The RuPaul's Drag Race. RuPaul Drag Race. Hi, Joe Betance. How are you doing? I've missed you. We have not.
I know.
We have not talked drag since last year.
The three of us have not spoken at all.
I know. No,
since we've just not spoken. This is like coming back to school after a very long summer.
In fact, there were tense words, if I believe.
That's right.
There was a little bit of crying on Joe's part. Yes. And we all just decided it was best if we all agreed to disagree and just went our separate ways.
Those summer nights.
Oh my
Tell me more.
Oh, dear God. It's Grease Live all over again. That horrible thing. Anyway, well, we're back, and it's currently the day that we are recording here, February 5th. We have just witnessed this past week the unveiling of the new queens for Season 8.
Yeah, we're getting an early jump. We're gonna talk about it, and I have a lot of thoughts. But let me ask you guys this: on the batch as a whole, not individual drag queens, but on the queens as a whole, this year's Season 8 cast, do you guys have any initial thoughts?
I have some initial thoughts
on the whole cast.
Right. One is, it seems as though they have taken the previous 7 seasons and spliced together certain queens and made new queens out of them. As far as in looks, especially. I remember after Bianca won 2 seasons ago, it seemed like there was a lot of the whole clown drag thing came in. And that's definitely very apparent right now. A lot of the queens, or at least some of the queens, have particularly crazy makeup, which I'll talk a little bit about that later on when we talk about the specifics. Another thing is, now that Violet won last year, it seems like there is a lot of the Betty Page style with the hair and the makeup, that kind of stuff. So I just am wondering if they're just... I'm not sure why that's happening, other than it just seems like they probably get a lot of people to think, oh, well, Bianca won last year, so I could totally try, or Violet won, so I'm going to try. That's just my thought on that.
My thought is that they maybe fired the casting people from last year, because with very few exceptions, I liked almost every single one that I saw. So the group as a whole, I like this group a lot better.
I'm with Daniel.
I feel a lot better about this season than when I started season 7, and I was like, yeah. I mean, there's only a couple of snoozers in this group. For the most part, I saw them and I snapped judgment, going like, oh my God, they're X. And then they talked and I'm like, oh God, they're totally not X. They're something different. And I like that.
Yeah. Yes. That's true for me too. It seems as though there seems to be girls in this season that seem to be really smart and have thought through the process.
Yes.
And with the exception of a couple that just seem, they're not just like, oh, well, I'm just here. They seem particularly dumb.
Oh, yes.
There's 2 parties. There's either super smart or dumb. Right. There isn't anything in between.
Taylor's clearly talking about the Puerto Ricans. But before we get to the racism, they fired almost. They did a huge massacre of the staff between season 7 and season 8. I think partially, if I had to guess, because of the number of just acting challenges. Like last season was almost a whole. It was like RuPaul's Next Actress or something. Right. Yeah. So I think we're going to see a variety here. But also, I discovered the Reddit subreddit for RuPaul's Drag Race in the middle of last season, but have since read it since. And what's really shocking is they filmed this thing late July, early August, and these Reddit they would have a thread called "Come Through Nancy Drew." So these Reddit detectives had nailed everyone except they didn't get Layla McQueen. That was the one they were a little shocked by.
Who does get Layla McQueen?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Sasha Bell of season 8. But
That's exactly. I wrote that down. Oh my God.
We already have it. No. But you know, apart from that, though, a lot of the drag queens are either legends or already very famous and very popular. So I think it's going to be an interesting season. But that being said, does anyone have any other thoughts before we head right into each individual drag queen?
No, we can go into each one. I mean, there was, you know, who believes their ages ever though? That was my thing. Is every time they would say their age, it was like it was a crapshoot. It's like they'd say their age. And I'm like, Oh, yeah.
No one was over 32, except for Acid Betty claimed to be the oldest, which is
the oldest at 37.
And
but
Kim
still clearly remembers Madonna.
Right.
Yeah. No, Acid Betty said she didn't say her age. She just said she was the oldest. Okay. All right, let's actually start with that. Let's actually start with Acid Betty. Daniel, your initial thoughts.
Well, first of all, Entertainment Weekly has them listed out in the same order you do, but they have their purported ages. So Acid Betty's purported age is 37 from Brooklyn, New York. My thought on Acid Betty was, you know, like a much better Tempest du jour, like kind of like, okay, if you're going to be an old girl, at least, you know some polysyllabic words and like know something. You know, I kind of dug her. I liked her. As someone to start with, I was like, yeah, I like her. She's quirky. None of her jokes really bombed. You know what I'm saying? Like, she sounded articulate. She sounded funny. She sounded like she could command a stage, and I like that.
I feel there was charisma there. Yeah, I felt it was all good. What are your thoughts, Taylor?
My initial thought when I saw the picture and I watched the initial commercial was I thought, I don't like this whole Bianca du jour type thing with crazy different colors, whereas like Bianca would wear her mascara and everything super dark. This was all these different colors. But in getting to listen to her, she's one of the ones that I would say is very smart and is I think that she will go very far. I kind of have some that I think they're going to go by the wayside very quickly. I see her going at the very least in the back half of the show as being eliminated, if not making it pretty far. The one thing that I was kind of turned off by with her and a couple of the other contestants is we're sitting in a dress, but we're talking like a man. Like there was no even attempt at trying to feminize their voice or anything. It was just very, my name's Acid Betty and I'm the oldest. You know, it just was kind of off-putting a little bit. That was the one issue that I had.
I feel that's sort of the trend right now with drag queens, a sort of gender bending. We're neither gender kind of thing.
And that I understand that I come from a place of, I mean, they've talked about Florida queens, as Daniel is aware. There is a definite style of Florida queens that is very much of the pageant style. And they try to, you know, one word that Donna uses a lot when she's on the show is illusion. And it's kind of taking away from the illusion and sort of peeling back the curtain, as it were. Mm-hmm. And that was the one thing that I didn't necessarily like about her upon hearing her little get to know you video. Because her whole thing with like bright colors and neon and dayglow, that's all my color aesthetic. I love shit like that. So you would think I would be very much like, oh, yeah, I like that. But there's just stuff about her that I'm a little off-put by. That being said, I think she'll go far.
From what I know, from the little that I know, she's already, I don't really follow drag queens outside of RuPaul's Drag Race. But from the little that I know, I think she's very famous already. I think she's like in Chad Michaels legend territory already. Yeah. And so she's walking in already with that sort of, which obviously RuPaul has either heard of her or knows who she is. That's always the funny thing about RuPaul's Drag Race when they try and pretend like, Ru tries to pretend like she's never heard of them before, but she knows who everybody is. Like, for instance, I never bought the Bianca Del Rio bullshit. How is Bianca Del Rio best friends with Lady Bunny?
Yeah.
And yet Ru doesn't know who she is, you know? But, with Acid Betty, she's sort of this legendary New York queen. Something's going to bring some gravitas with her. And so she's all clearly you can tell she knows how to work the fucking game. You can just already see it. She already has that, like, Bianca sort of had that same thing where they were like, all right, let's just get me to the final three. Like, I'm already here. And so I think maybe she'll do well. I think she actually has the chops. I liked her. I was a big fan. Any other thoughts on Acid Betty?
No.
Nope.
All right, let's move on to Bob the Drag Queen. Taylor, let's start with you. Any thoughts on Bob the Drag Queen?
Bob the Drag Queen was my favorite of all the interviews. That was the most likable, was the most personable. And I am stating for the record, Bob the Drag Queen will be in the top 3.
Wow.
I am making a prediction that Bob will be in the top 3.
I think we'll play this game. I think it's a good point. We'll play this game at the end. I think we should do some sort of like who goes first and in what order kind of thing game. But yeah, I think I agree with you, and I think Reddit and the RuPaul's Drag Race fans agree with you. I think they think Bob the Drag Queen is going to go very far. Daniel, do you have any thoughts on Bob?
The only thing I wrote down for Bob was Joe Betance. Because it was like she reminded me of you from the standpoint of, when you first meet you, it's very off-putting, and then you start to say stuff, and it's really annoying. But then you understand the wit behind it, and you get that it's done with a wink and a smile, and then you love her. So that to me, it's like she is the embodiment of the Joe Betance experience, I believe.
You know what's so funny is I have my own podcast, and if you listen to the very early episodes of my own podcast, I was very, very off-putting because I was very harsh. I had this personality, and I thought I'd never really podcasted before. I thought I'll just, I'm going to put it all out there. And I came off sounding like a real a-hole to the point that our co-host here, Taylor Latte Boy, texted my co-host privately and said that bothered him. And so what's funny is when I was watching Bob the Drag Queen, I was thinking like, oh, he's trying too hard the same way that I tried too hard. Or I actually felt Bianca tried a little too hard in the early episode of season 6, where it was like, just Queen, just pull it back. You've got it. You don't have to be on every second.
Yeah, and I think a lot of stage queens do that, right? There's a very different, it's a different medium, right? Talking to a camera and doing stuff that you would normally do on stage may come off as just being way over the top, or it's like sitting in front of a microphone and then talking really loudly or something. It's like you don't have to project in front of a microphone. It's right in front of your face. It's just a different skill set.
I didn't get trying too hard with Bob, but I kind of on one level. The name Bob the Drag Queen, I kind of took when I read that initially as one of the contestants as sort of disrespectful. Like, well, she should have a name, either something even more feminine than Bob the Drag Queen. But in watching that video, you use the term wit, or you use the phrase wit, and that I think sums up what I like about her is that there is. She uses polysyllable syllabic words, polysyllabic words.
Just like Taylor, yeah.
Right, yes.
Yeah, just like me.
Yeah.
And when you go through what we went through last season with particular Pearl, that Pearl is kind of the low baseline to which I hold all the drag queens for this season. Right. There was something very charming about Bob that I want to see more. I want to watch more with her. Yes. I'm curious.
And what's so funny is I just compared her to Bianca, and I think Bob the Drag Queen also has some sort of stand-up comedy background, which could explain a lot, as do I. So in that, when you're in stand-up, especially when you're starting out in stand-up, your whole thing is to get your persona out as early as possible. Let people know who you are, what your perspective is. And that could be where he's coming from. But yeah, I felt the same thing you were feeling, Daniel.
Well, Bob is the MC of a drag bar in Manhattan, which is close enough to the Times Square area and stuff that it gets a lot of tourists. So that's one of those things that are like establishing your character every night because you don't have a hometown crowd that's coming every single night. You know what I'm saying? You're constantly in front of strangers.
And I've seen on Tumblr pictures of Bob and Bianca together. Where they, which I know a lot of them, they all kind of, that's a very incestuous group where everybody hangs out with everybody. But
there's even in a city the size of New York, there's not that many drag bars. So it's
right. But I mean, that's something where you would think, okay, if you see the two of them in multiple pictures together, you can't help but think, okay, there's some sort of common bond there.
Yeah.
That you might not necessarily see if Bianca was standing next to, say, Fifi O'Hara or something like that, where you think, okay, that doesn't make any sense that the two of them together, unless they're doing one of these Battle of the Season tours.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the Reddit army sort of seems to think that Bob the Drag Queen's going to go very far.
Moving on. We have a lot of people to get through here.
Chi-Chi DeVayne.
We can just skip that one.
Daniel, any thoughts on Chi-Chi DeVayne?
I didn't care for Chi-Chi. In fact, the video that I was watching had cut off her name, so I was trying to figure out who she was, just so I could write down on my little thing that I did not like her. It's like following the Joe Betance analog. You immediately go into I don't know. I don't know. Like the big fatty analog, like a podcaster that makes no sense and is just kind of disorganized. To me, she was all over the road. I didn't like her.
Taylor.
she'll be the pretty one that goes the farthest. But the only reason that she's going far is because she's pretty. Because she
is
dumb.
very pretty.
She was dumb. She also, one thing that I couldn't help but notice was, now you're a man in a dress. I get that. And you're on a drag competition. Sit like a lady when you're sitting in a chair. She's doing this whole like slumped down leg spread in the weird rocking chair like somebody's grandma in, Arkansas or something. And it was just that eventually at one point I wasn't focusing on what she was saying. I was focusing on the fact that her knees were apart. So that's
how they sit in Shreveport, Louisiana, apparently.
Yeah.
She was also 29, apparently.
Sure.
Yeah, I didn't. She wasn't particularly memorable to me, but I think Taylor's assessment is really good because she wasn't quite as not crazy. She wasn't quite as obviously going to go home first as the other one. She's the Candy Ho.
Okay,
the Candy
She's
Ho.
not the worst, but you're going to go around episode 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Right, and then next season, when you make she's the Chi-Chi Devane of, I'll be like, Chi-Chi, who the fuck is Chi-Chi Devane? Just like I just did with Candy Ho.
I have a great memory for them. I'm wondering, we should do this challenge later. I'm wondering if I could even remember the order that they went.
I was actually going to, I thought of that as a challenge today as well. Anyway, so I don't think any of us like Chi-Chi.
I don't have much to say about Chi-Chi Devane. She just seemed like, meh. Yeah. But moving on, I do have a lot to say about Cynthia Lee Fontaine. Taylor, you have any thoughts on Cynthia?
She's annoying. She seemed to not be listening to the questions. For example, the guest judge I want to be on, Michelle Visage. Bitch, she's been on for the last 6 seasons.
The Puerto Ricans never get it. They always are just behind like, I guess I want to see. I think she means literally see.
Either way, it's just, it says next to her name, guest judge you want to meet or see or whatever. And she says, Michelle Visage, I love her eyes. That and the whole, I named myself after another queen. Like, I had a really good friend named Cynthia who was another pageant queen, so I named myself. The answers made no sense. Plus, she did the whole where she's speaking with the thick Spanish accent, but then trying to do, but I'm from Texas, y'all. Right. The whole thing was, she will be gone within the first 3 episodes, I think.
Guys, she said she wants to be the first Latina queen. Bianca Del Rio is Latina.
I totally missed that.
She goes, I want to be the first Latina queen. I'm all like, then you missed 2 seasons ago when Bianca Del Rio won. The most famous, I would say right now, the most famous and popular drag queen in the show's history.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with you. I don't understand. Here's what I don't get. Maybe this is coming from a Mexican man's perspective here, is they always have the Puerto Rican drag queen, but I'm like, that there are other Latinos besides Puerto Ricans, and they don't have to be from Mexico. Like they haven't really had like a Mexican queen on.
Delta Work. Delta Work was Mexican. Delta Work was Mexican. I remember her saying that on a show because I was a little like,
well, there you go, Joe Betance. I guess.
I was disproven. I'm the Cynthia Lee Fontaine of this show.
Wait, who?
I don't know.
Exactly.
But yeah, so but the point is they can have they do have another Latina who was born here, but I'm just saying there's always the Puerto Rican queen, and I guess they like the accent or whatever. But other than go ahead.
That was the only thing I wrote down was Puerto Rican from Texas because there was a Puerto Rican last year. Wasn't it Candy Ho that's from Connecticut?
From Connecticut.
Yeah, she's from Connecticut, but she was the Puerto Rican queen. It's just like, no, once you've lived there for that many years, you're no longer a Puerto Rican. She's
definitely my batch of going home in the early batch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We can hope.
Absolutely.
She's the Jasmine Masters.
No, I don't think she could do it.
Okay, let's move on to Derek Barry. Daniel.
He talked about his range, yet all I saw was Brittany. And to me, that was just kind of like, it's like, this is going to be another one of those one-note queens. It's like, I'm known for doing a Britney Spears impersonation. So everything I pulled out on that runway is going to in some way be a Britney Spears impersonation. Yeah. And every single week, until she gets gone, the judges will all be like, we want to see your range. But this is range. This is Britney, with brown skin. And I don't know. It's just all going to be
Chad Michaels was the same way with this Cher, don't you think?
Yeah. Okay. There you go. That's a good example.
Well, and he said that at one point that he wanted to, or she wanted to be the Chad Michaels of this season, which, well, look at you. But I also think that with Cher, with Cher, with Chad Michaels, while there was clearly the Cher thing in the background, she brought out other looks that weren't necessarily so related to Cher. Whereas I think exactly what Daniel, what you're saying, this one, it's always going to be the toxic Britney, the slave for you Britney, anything she can do to do that. And I guarantee, should she lip sync for her life, it'll be a week where she does. They have Britney Spears and she will go home. She will be eliminated.
Now, let me ask you this question. Is she Britney Spears during Snatch Game?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, but here's the thing. Chad was willing to show the funnier side of Cher. Yeah. Do you think Derek is willing to show the... Because you can tell he's friends with Britney. Britney's in Vegas. She clearly knows he exists. They're friends, right? Yeah. Is he doing crazy Britney at the Snatch Game, or is he going to go boring like when people do Beyonce?
Yeah, honestly, he's not going to make it to Snatch Game, so I think it's a moot point.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think Derek Barry's going to be a force to be reckoned with. This is where we differ, finally. Right. I think he's going to be there for a while. I think he's going to be like the Miss Fame of this season.
There you go.
Okay, but there's two things that we need to talk about with Derek Barry.
Sure.
One thing that the first thing I wrote down is, wait, do you like Britney Spears? That was the first thing that I wrote down. Then I also wrote down that she's in a thruple with one of the Marines that was on the season with Alaska, and some other person,
How did I miss this?
Art, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think an artist who I looked up what he looked like, and he's really hot, actually.
Oh, nice. Wow.
So that was very I see. So
here's another thing, too, I can tell you, is she said that the judge she really wanted to see most was Lady Gaga. There are rumors that Gaga is a judge this season.
Wow.
Really?
Yes. So it could be prescient there that Gaga is a judge this season, because there have been very strong rumors about it. And, Gaga was in town filming American Horror Story. She also kind of lives in LA part-time, so it makes sense. And Gaga has made it very, very known on Twitter and everywhere else that she wants to be a judge on Drag Race. So I doubt Drag Race is going to be like, nah, it's okay. We're going to take the second string woman from that big gay sketch show.
It's Juliana Margulies, everyone.
Is Jean Smart available? Can we get Jean Smart on? What is she doing right now?
Can we get Melinda Doolittle from American Idol? Is she around? He could be the singing challenge one.
The kid who played Nunzio on Little House on the Prairie. What's he doing now? What, Gaga wants to be on? No, let's get Nunzio. I think we should have Nunzio on instead.
Whatever happened to Jay from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy? What's he doing now?
Can we get Conrad Bain from Different Strokes? Is he still alive? He'd be good if we did like a geriatric challenge.
I have two words. For the judges' table. Nancy McKeon. Where is she? Get her agent on the phone right now.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. They should have us choose the judges for that show. Who's the girl that was on news radio and she was like Kathy Griffin, but she wasn't?
Oh.
Remember?
Oh.
Yeah, and I always mistake the girl from Modern Family for her.
She's on news radio. I was like, I always confuse her. I bet you Kathy Griffin gets asked if she was on news radio a lot.
That was because she was on Suddenly Susan when that one was on, and they used to get mistaken for each other all the time.
Yeah.
It's I'm going to tell you who it is right now. It's Mara Tierney?
No, Mara Tierney.
No, Mara Tierney's no.
Vicky Lewis?
Vicky Lewis.
Yes, it's Vicky Lewis.
Oh, I can. Yes, I see how that's like very Kathy Bacon. I mean, Kathy Bacon. Very Kathy Griffin.
Kathy Bacon should be a judge on Drag Race.
Oh my God, they'd have to. For those of you who don't listen to our other shows, Kathy Bacon is a regular listener to our other shows and often calls in.
And let's just say she's no stranger to time limits on voicemails.
Yeah. Okay. So Derek Barry, I want to get back to that he called it thronogamous relationship or something like that.
And then a throuple.
A throuple. I've always been kind of curious. So before I got my boyfriend, I have a boyfriend. Since we last met, I've gotten a boyfriend in the meanwhile. And what's funny is before that I was like, yeah, I want to be in a 3-way relationship. Truth of the matter is, now that you're in it, I'm all like, no, I don't want to share him with anybody.
It's exhausting. It would just be exhausting. Putting up with my boyfriend is a full-time job. Adding another one into the mix, I would be hanging from the rafters.
Oh, see, I thought you were going to say the opposite. I think you're going to say, like, be with your boyfriend as long as I've been with the guy I'm going to marry. And you're like, oh, yeah, I can bring someone this now. But you're saying it's already a full-time job.
Well, it's a full-time job just because of the way we communicate. And by that, I mean we don't communicate.
Don't look at me. I'm divorced. All right, move on.
Yeah, guys, since you last heard from us, someone's gotten engaged, someone got a boyfriend, and someone's gotten divorced.
Things are always changing here at the Drag Race Recap Show.
Yeah, exactly. And Donna Sugars is still exactly where she was a year ago. Those of you missing Donna Sugars, she just couldn't make it tonight.
She's in a very important. You know what? She has done a couple of plays since last year. She was she played Edna Turnblatt in Hairspray, and she's doing something now.
Donna Sugars has a lot. She can't make it tonight. She has a very important play she has to do costumes for at Buffalo Community Theater's production of Arsenic and Old Lace, and so that's more important than being here. Okay, so let's move on. Next drag
it's
queen
supposed
here.
to look like elderberry wine. I'm sorry, I was desperate for a Arsenic and Old Lace reference there.
Yeah, Daniel's been hosting. What is wrong with me today?
I have no idea.
Daniel's been holding that Arsenic and Old Lace joke since 1968. He wasn't even born.
Waiting for that moment. Wow. Waiting for that moment
We are
to finally
so
unleash
far
it upon
off
an
the
unsuspecting
rails.
world.
Wow.
Speaking of off the rails, let's go on our next queen. Dax! Exclamation point. Daniel?
This is one of those, I didn't think I would like her, and then I liked her.
I agree with you.
Yes. And my only thought was, the only thing I really wrote down was, she's the queen of all nerds, and she doesn't realize that Dax was on Deep Space Nine. It's like she was like talking about how she was all these other, sci-fi characters, but she just left out Dax. And I was like, wait, that's your name. Anyway.
But Dax is her actual name.
I know, but Dax, you don't think she was named Dax because her parents were like big DS9 fans?
But in fairness to her, she could have said and they just edited it out because they're like, ugh, that's too nerdy and boring.
Yeah, that is a 3-minute. It's a 3-minute video that they probably recorded a bunch of stuff with their.
True. I liked her though.
So
yeah, here's the thing though. Go ahead, Taylor.
Sorry. No, I really liked her. I think that I wrote down will go far. She's smart and she sells it really well. She seemed to be the most out of anybody that was passable in that the way she was sitting, the way she was presenting herself. I really liked her. I think that she'll be in the top 4 to 5.
Oh, it's funny because I really liked her. Don't get me wrong, I really, really liked her. But I still feel that she didn't have the charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent to go all the way. She seemed like she's going to be the max of season 8.
Wow. That was not who I thought would be I actually thought somebody was the max of this season, but we haven't gotten
there. Okay, we'll
yet.
get to her. Yeah. Okay, next. Kim Chi. Taylor.
I wrote down Ricky Burton doing bad Asian drag.
Okay, no one knows who Ricky Burton is.
I know no one knows Ricky Burton. He's a fellow podcaster of ours. But do you see it when after I say it?
Ricky Burton's not even Asian.
I know. That's the point. Doing a bad stereotype Asian drag.
Okay. So for those of you who are listening, Ricky Burton on his show, Foul Monkeys, we might as well give him a plug since we're going to read him a little bit, does very poor imitation of other races. Is that what you're getting at?
No, I just think it looked like if Ricky put on bad Asian, Madame Butterfly makeup and then put on a purple wig.
Like him.
It kind of looked like Ricky to me.
There you go.
So, but getting to where most people would understand what I'm talking about, I like clear silhouettes with avant-garde shape. That was a very odd statement to me. And if I have to lip sync for my life, I want to lip sync to the Dixie Chicks Sin Wagon. This one's the freak. This one's the weird one, I think, of the season.
I think. Yeah, what is it? She said she always dresses in monochrome or something, and she's clearly wearing different colors. Anyway, no, I know Kim Chi from the Feast of Fun podcast. She does regular stuff with them on their YouTube channel. So I was familiar with Kim Chi as a YouTube person ahead of time, and I wasn't a huge fan of her then. So I don't know that I'm going to be a huge fan of her this season.
Well, and Feast of Fun is based out of Chicago, much like Foul Monkeys, with home of Ricky Burton. So maybe Kim Chi actually is Ricky Burton doing bad Asian drag.
Could be.
Maybe I cracked the code in making a joke.
That's what it was. You cracked the code.
Now, I Skyped out a little bit, Daniel, but it seems like you kind of made my point, which is that kimchi's already very, very famous already.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think what you were saying, though, is I think she's famous for her looks, like an Instagram star might be. But I think once you get her in the challenges, I think she might be a little disappointing.
That would make her the Miss Fame of this season.
That's what. Okay. Or the Max, you mean?
No. Max is the Hollywood lady that's later.
Okay, all right. So Max, okay, I see what you're saying. Oh, really? I have a different person for the Hollywood lady.
Good.
Okay, but Miss Fame, yes, I think we're on an agreement on that one.
Yes.
And I guess when I listen back to the show, I'll hear all the insightful things you guys said because I Skyped out. All right, moving on. Okay, I have a lot to say about our next queen, Layla McQueen. Daniel, do you have any thoughts on her?
Not really. She didn't.
Oh, really?
She didn't really do anything. Maybe I was eating at that point and not really paying attention. I don't know. She just didn't really strike me out as, she kind of like seemed like she was really searching for answers to questions, which made me to believe that she's probably not going to be on the show very long anyway.
Yeah. I put down she will be the first one to go home.
Yeah.
I think I agree the same. I think I'm in complete agreement. I said she's like if Adore Delano and Sasha Bell had a kid. Seemed like a mess. I'm calling she's the first to go home. I'm calling Layla McQueen first to go home, even though Sasha Bell was second to go home.
Yes, she
Tempest du Jour was the first. So maybe, but she's in that Sasha Bell territory.
Yeah.
Like it's no. I cannot see anything going on there going far. Like Adore. One, let's be honest. Adore was cute as a boy, and this is actually the big complaint the other drag queens from her season had about her, was that her looks were a fucking mess. But she was cute as a boy,
yes,
and had a lot of personality. Was very, very funny.
Yeah,
and so I think that's what carried Adore. She was good TV. Layla McQueen isn't. Well, from what I've seen on the Meet the Queens, isn't good TV. She's the fucking mess.
Yeah. She seemed to be. The vibe she was getting off was just north of Magnolia Crawford. I'm just here for the publicity sort of thing. But she wasn't quite to that level, but she's not far off. She just kind of wants to get her name out there. And I was not impressed.
That would make her the Mrs. Kasha Davis of season. Sorry.
No, see, because Mrs. Kasha Davis believed her own hype on that. That's the difference. This one, I think she just kind of...
Kasha Davis doesn't need a hype man. She is her own hype man.
This one is just kind of, yeah, I'm here, I got here, whatever. Like, that's sort of very much a Pearl wannabe.
Yeah.
Like, she's sort of the
I can
Pearl,
see that, yeah.
only without the drive for whatever to keep going.
Right.
So, plus, if we keep turning our heads to 3/4 so that we show off the double chin, that was distracting to me too. I'm like, you want to be head on, honey, because it's just not the weird double chin with the roots and I'm sitting in granny panties with the bra that doesn't fit right and the little shorty kimono. And the whole thing was just a big fucking mess.
I'm glad you guys are carrying the show while I Skype out here. I have no idea what's going on here. But, okay, let's move on here. Naomi Smalls.
I wrote fishy and top 6, but if you held a gun to my head right now, I couldn't tell you what she looked like.
She's real.
Yeah, with the little like 60s look, like she had the little polka dotted dress on.
Okay, with the little bob, Okay, yes. No, I liked her kind of, but she was very, to me, I think she'll go far, but she wasn't necessarily my favorite of some of the ones that we've talked about.
She reminded me of a Johnny Depp pirate movie, Black Pearl. She was like very sleepy to very like, oh no, I'm Naomi Smalls because I like Naomi Campbell and Biggie Smalls, which, right. Yeah. But I agree with you. She seems really cool and like she'll just glide through to top 6. We're all for the most part in complete agreement here. I think she's going to do very well, but I don't have a lot to say about her because I don't feel she shared that much or gave us a lot to know, but she'll just be one of the people who's just always in the background, sipping her drink, she's not super involved in the drama, but she's there in the background. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, the bitch is in top 6.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Naysha Lopez.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, that was your response to her? Can I tell you what my response to was?
Sure, go ahead, Taylor.
Rage. I hated her. I wanted to punch her in the neck so hard. through her video with the whole vocal fry, and I feel like I'm like Jennifer Lopez and hashtag the beauty, because look at this mug. I gotta beat this mug. The beauty. She's trying already to get, whereas it's always time for a cocktail, the whole hashtag the beauty, that's going to be her thing through the whole, I guarantee it.
I didn't pick up
it's always
on that,
time for a cocktail or flooding my basement, or
she's already written the song.
She's
for it.
already, yes, she's absolutely.
Oh, interesting. Good point there. I did not like her at all. I was closer to Taylor. I don't know if I would just want to punch her in the throat, but I will be very happy when that bitch sachets away. Not a big fan of Naysha Lopez. It just seemed very like taken with herself. And here's the funny thing: is there are some legit beautiful drag queens on here? You know, like for instance, we just talked about her. I think Naomi Smalls is gorgeous, right? Mm-hmm. Naysha Lopez was not even that beautiful.
Yeah, she wasn't.
She kept saying she looked like Jennifer Lopez. I'm like, on HGH, maybe. I mean, Jesus, you're built like a linebacker.
And dead Selena. Like, after Selena's shot, that's what she looked like. Jennifer Lopez.
Wow.
Okay. Next.
I could fall in.
Next.
Okay. Robbie Turner. This is the one Daniel wanted to talk about.
It is?
Yeah, isn't this the person you were saying is the Max Melanphy of season 8?
Yeah. With the I want everything I do to be very vintage, very, whatever. To me, it was just kind of like, she's like Max. Remember how Max wanted everything to be 20s Hollywood and everything? So every look had some interpretation of 20s Hollywood. To me, no matter what the challenge is, she's going to come down the aisle and the first words out of her mouth are going to be vintage, right? It's just like, oh, this is a very vintage look with blah, blah, blah. So those kind of people annoy me. Those kind of like single focus, like I have no range. You know what I'm saying? You're on a game show. Don't try to pin yourself into this little corner.
But see, and the thing that you don't like about her is the thing that I'm looking forward to the most. The fact that she is 33, so that means that she was born in the 80s, but she's very much where she was mentioning things like Liza Minnelli, Carol Burnett, all that kind of stuff. Whereas Max seemed to be very 40s and 50s. It seems like she's going to do something similar, but it's 60s and 70s, which that's kind of like with Acid Betty and the bright colors. That's very much an aesthetic that I like to look at. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing her runway stuff. If she's bringing all of this runway stuff that's supposed to be inspired by vintage things, if she can make that stuff work as far as whatever the parameters are of the challenge for the runway, I'm hoping to see some very impressive things by her.
If they can make it work, then yeah. But so often they don't. That was kind of anyway, go ahead, Joe.
I was getting more Mrs. Kasha Davis meets Ben de la Creme.
Oh, that's no fair. I loved Ben de la Creme.
But Ben de la Creme had that same sort of like, where am I kind of thing, and I sort of feel like she kind of had that too. She's gunning for Miss Congeniality. She wants that $5,000 check at the last performance, at the finale. She wants to get that check handed to her. So that's sort of, I think I felt like she was gunning for that. And she's the sweet one. She'll last a while, probably go somewhere a little past the middle. Will she make it to Snatch Game?
Yes.
That's probably how we,
and that's probably her strength too. I would say Snatch Game is probably her strength.
Yeah, very good.
If she does a Carol Burnett style show, then playing characters, it would probably be right up her alley.
All right, here we go. The last one, Thorgy Thor.
Jesus,
that was a big sigh.
There's two types of people I don't like. I do not like stupid people, and I do not like Luddites. And Thorgy Thor is like the epitome of a Luddite, right? It's like emoji. I don't know what an emoji is. It's like, girl, just go away. I don't know where my phone is at. It's like, go away.
Okay.
I hate those people. I hate those people.
I hope she lasts a long time so we can hear.
She, to me, is the Ginger Minge of season.
She's already the Ginger Minge. Daniel, for
the
new listeners, Daniel had a hatred for Ginger Minge from day one. Just a deep-seated hatred for Ginger Minge.
Yes.
And so Daniel's finally pegged it. This is his Ginger Minge for this season 8.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Taylor.
What are your thoughts, Taylor?
The one thing, she kind of looked like a wonky eye RuPaul at times, with the one eye definitely is sort of off kilter from the other one. I I thought she was smart. She seemed to be very...
I liked her, actually.
I kind of liked her. And the fact that she said drag should be fun. This is going to be fun for me. I'm going into this thinking this is going to be fun. Mm-hmm. That was something that was appealing to me. She's again somebody that I kind of want to see more from.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think she seems smart. She seemed to get it. Also, you don't really see that look on Drag Race. Like that, like, Brooklyn, New Jersey housewife... Not New Jersey housewife, but like New Jersey, not housewife, not like Jersey Shore, kind of like trashy look. It seems sort of she was going for.
Well, and I'm wondering if a lot of these looks are because they were all on the costumes they used for the intro video, where they're all in the salon. So I think it was all kind of that 60s to 70s style. I'm curious, once they're allowed to kind of dress in their own style for whatever they're doing, if we'll feel differently about some of their looks. Like, for example, Naomi Smalls, the harsh pink, the white collar on the pink with a little page boy, she's a very pretty queen, but it was distracting to me. And I'm thinking, something tells me that she doesn't always necessarily dress quite like that. So
I think they filmed, I know last season the big joke was, they filmed it after the first episode was filmed, so that Tempest Azure had to pretend like she could win. But I think they film it very early, so they do definitely save the queens to see each other for the first time in the workroom.
Yeah,
and then at some point after that, then they do this first day with Ru. So so I think I'm very curious to see how it goes. Now, so let me ask you guys a few questions. Now that we've run through all the drag queens, Daniel, by the way, do you have anything else to say besides you hate her because she's a Luddite?
You were talking about Naomi Smalls, who I liked, but no, Thorgy Thor, nothing more to say. Go ahead.
I didn't say I didn't like Naomi Smalls. I just didn't like what she had on.
Yeah, okay. I got it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Well, you guys have the drag queens in front of you. So now, instead of, we could do what order they go in at some point, but let me ask you this. Who does not make it to Snatch Game? Who doesn't make it to Snatch Game? Now, there's usually around episode 5 or 6. So who are the first 5 queens going? Can you give me that?
Definitely looking through it. Definitely Layla McQueen. I'll say Layla McQueen is definitely
Layla McQueen gone, not making the Snatch Game. I don't think Naysha Lopez is.
I don't think Naysha Lopez either. Absolutely. Cynthia Lee Fontaine.
Yeah, she's gone. That's 3.
Chi Chi DeVayne is gone.
Chi Chi DeVayne.
Okay, let me give me one more.
Did you say Kimchi?
No, but I would. Kimchi would definitely be one, and I would say either Kimchi or Thorgy Thor.
Yeah. Okay.
Because another thing with Thorgy Thor that no, that's not true. Forget I said that. So, no, but I think Thorgy Thor might be one that goes.
Okay, are you guys ready to give me the order that you think people that we have it on record?
This was not part of the assignment.
I know, it's a surprise pop question.
Wow, you're a cruel taskmaster. Masker?
How much have you been drinking already?
You were the one that started off the show by calling it Rat Paul's Drag Race.
I was like, well,
I don't have an order yet. Go ahead, Taylor, if you do.
I don't have an order.
I don't. You know what? No, I think that's unfair. I would consent to picking the top 3, but I'm not going to give you a week by week order.
Do a top 3 then. Give me a top 3.
Bob the Drag Queen, Dax ! And Robbie Turner.
Robbie Turner for your top 3? Really?
I'm going for that outlier, oh, is it crazy? Because if I'm right, then that's amazing.
Okay. All right. I'm going to say Bob the Drag Queen, Dax ! I'm going to say Acid Betty.
Really?
I think. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change that just a little bit. Dax ! Will be the 4th one to go home. Dax ! Will be in top 4, and then she will be the one that doesn't get to go to top 3. My 3rd one that's actually going to make it. Oh shit! I don't know.
Yeah,
that's Derek Barry. Derek Barry.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I've been writing it out furiously right now. Right now I have Layla McQueen going first, Naysha Lopez going second, Chi Chi DeVayne going third, Cynthia Lee Fontaine going fourth, Dax, then Kim Chi. Then it gets really, because it is a strong group. It gets really tricky after that. because Derek could. I do agree. I think Bob for sure is in the top 3. I think Acid Betty is in the top 3. That third spot though for me is tricky. I don't know. Maybe Derek Barry. I think it's not in the third spot.
They're gonna bring Katya back from season 7.
That would be awesome.
Maybe we should. I'll tell you what. Here's the assignment. Maybe we should do this after the first episode.
Yes. Okay. I will consent to that.
Okay. So here's what we can do. Here's what we can do. We can, because the first episode we have to call who's going home first. And so I think we all agree that Layla McQueen's probably going home first?
Yes.
I think it's Layla or Naisha.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Naisha. Yeah. I don't think Layla. I think Naisha before Layla.
Okay. So I'm thinking one of those two queens.
Why do you think that?
Wait, no, I'm confusing Layla with someone else. Yeah, okay, yes, Layla. The stoner chick, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we're all on the same page that Layla's going home first. I often think, sometimes I'll think with RuPaul's Drag Race, like, oh, they're making us think that, but then they're not. Remember, for those of you who are new listeners, last year, when I was at the finale, I was at the taping of the finale, and I noticed that, Violet Chachki was the only one who, like, RuPaul did because they taped 3 different versions of the finale,
right.
And I was like, Violet Chachki's the only one that they did, like, really the full closing. I said, there's deep game going on here.
Yeah,
they did that to trick us, and like because they knew we would tweet it, but no, it was Violet Chachki. So sometimes I think they're much more cunning than they are.
Yeah, because really it was probably a production. Like, how much does it cost to clean up the confetti? No, we'll just do it once. Let's just shoot it that way.
Yeah. So okay, so we've run the gamut. We've met the queens. We've covered the queens. Are there any last comments about any of the queens, the cast as a whole, that we want to make before we close out the show? Daniel J. Brewer.
No, I will echo part of what I said in the beginning. I feel like this is a much, much better cast than last year. I'm looking forward to this season. I think it's going to be great.
Taylor the Latte Boy.
It can't be any worse than last season. When I think about season 7 now, at the time I kind of enjoyed it, even though it was annoying. But now when I think about it, it actually makes me angry that I wasted that much time of my life watching that season, considering some of the other seasons were so much better. Yeah. So they've got nowhere to go but up as far as I'm concerned.
There you go.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Even though I didn't hate season 7 as much, it was a very weak year.
Season 7 was a weak year with the exception of Untucked. I enjoyed Untucked much more. I almost wish that I'd rather just watched Untucked and didn't bother watching the actual episodes.
Do they repeat that format this year? Daniel Brewer, your thoughts?
Yes, I hope so. I think putting Untucked on YouTube was a master stroke. I think it's a great thing to do. Also, it's a great deep game move, because if we get used to watching things on YouTube, then when Logo decides that they don't want to renew this series, they'll just produce it on YouTube.
Do you really think that they're not? Isn't this still like they're really the only cash cow?
No, I'm just saying that by putting that stuff on YouTube, which having just a tertiary, like not using Logo's airtime to do it, the production company just keeps more of the money.
But also what World of Wonder could do is use YouTube as a possibility, as a negotiating tactic against Logo.
Right.
This is the stuff that Donna hates talking about.
Yes.
I could do a whole other podcast about the show business side of RuPaul's Drag Race.
There you go.
I would totally be on for that. I would totally be on for that, because I love, as the occasional, I was fortunate enough to just get to listen to you guys and occasionally be on. But when you would talk about the behind the scenes stuff and things that and you guys, the theories that you would have on why they did certain things, I would eat that shit up with a spoon. So if you all want to talk about that, it's 3 against 1. Donna can just mute her microphone for a little while and we'll talk about that.
When are we going to talk about thirsty wigs?
What is your overall thought, Joe Betance?
I think it looks like a very strong season, Daniel Brewer. A strong season of shade and a strong season of drinking lemonade. I don't even know what that means. But I'm looking forward to it. And also, but you know what we haven't talked about as well is we're going to have a really long podcast season this year, because it's season 8, immediately followed by All Stars.
So,
yeah,
it'll be crazy, which is why it's better for us to have 4 people this year, because that way, if people have to miss a week or whatever, we can. But yes, it's going to be an extra long. Gird your loins, ladies and gentlemen.
Do we know anybody yet that's on season 8? On not season 8.
All Stars.
Oh, they've already figured out who's on All Stars. They already know everybody.
Katya for sure. I would do. There would be a revolt.
Katya. It's pretty predictable. It's Katya. It's Alyssa Edwards. It's Alaska. It's everybody you would think, except there's a few. There are a few you're like, wait, that person made it on? Oh, Coco Montrese is on there. But then there's one or two people you're like, really, Queen? That one person? That I don't even.
Well, but is that the Mimi I'm first? Somebody has to go home first.
Yeah,
that's where
maybe that's what it is. Yeah, because
that person becomes the Candy Ho of All Stars.
I don't want to risk making myself freeze up, or I'd look on Reddit who the All Star Queens are. But they pretty much know who they are.
Cool.
Okay,
but the big controversy, I will tell you this, is so for the first season of All Stars, they asked Willem to be on it.
Right.
Okay. And he said, then they came to him and they said, look, we have a little bit of I can't remember what the drama was, but they wanted to bring someone else on, and Willem, I think, kind of volunteered. He kind of like stepped up and said, no, you know what, let that person on. When you guys do All Stars again, bring me on. And then because of there's been drama between Logo or World of Wonder and Willem since then, and so for All Stars, they did not ask Willem to be back on for the second season of All Stars, and I think he was a little bitter about that.
That's shocking.
Willem bitter?
Willem bitter, acting out.
That is so antithetical to his.
Oh, Adore Delana is also on All Stars.
Oh.
But is this sort of like where you kind of knew that the first season of All Stars was really just we fucked up and should have given Chad Michaels the crown, so that's what this whole season's about? Is that kind of what this is for Katya?
Yeah, this is all for Katya.
But people feel that way about Alaska too.
Yeah. I feel stronger about Katya than Alaska.
It probably is. Katya probably wins. I think. Yeah. I also happen to know that Ginger Minge is on it, so Daniel's gonna have a lot to say about All Stars this year.
Oh, please, you can send Tums and Malanta to P.O. Box.
Why, Daniel? Don't your basement get flooded when you talk about me?
Oh God!
Hi, Daniel. It's me, Ginger Minge. My basement is flooded.
Daniel Brewer hating me gives me life.
We got to get Ginger Minge as a guest on this show.
Dear God.
We should try and get some drag queens on this year as guests. Yeah,
I'm down.
But let's tell everyone goodbye for now, though. But before people tell people goodbye, Joe Betance, where can we hear you on a weekly basis?
You can hear me on the podcast Catching Up with Mike and Joe.
And Taylor the Latte Boy, where can we find you?
You can find me and my co-hosts Taffy and Rodan at Pod is My Co-Pilot at podismycopilot.com.
And Daniel Brewer, where can we find you?
Well, I thank you for asking, Joe Betance. You can find me at dubiousIntent.com or pride48.com/shows to see all of the shows on the Pride 48 podcast network.
Well, for Daniel Brewer, Taylor Latte Boy, and myself, thank you for joining us for the RuPaul's Drag Race Meet the Queens. You can find us after episode 1, which I believe is March 7th. Mm-hmm. Maybe like March 8th we'll probably do the show, so you can download us then after the first episode. We do it the Tuesday after every episode, and you can find us then on iTunes, Stitcher, Smart Radio, everywhere you get your podcast. But until then, once again, I'm going to repeat for Daniel Brewer, Taylor Latte Boy, and myself, who has the honors because Donna's not here.
Can I do it?
Do it.
Sashay away till next week.
I forgot.
Wait, not next week. The March 7th.
Yeah,
no.
March 7th.
Sashay away till we come back.